Welcome back to our channel. Today, we're exploring one of the most impactful and devastating events in modern history, World War II. This global conflict, which lasted from 1939 to 1945, involved more than 100 million people from over 30 countries and resulted in significant changes to the world order. Join us as we delve into the causes, key events, and lasting legacy of World War II. Causes of World War II. To understand World War II, we need to examine the factors that led to its outbreak. Treaty of Versailles. The harsh terms imposed on Germany after World War I, including severe reparations and territorial losses, created widespread resentment. This economic and political instability paved the way for the rise of Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party, who promised to restore Germany's former glory. Expansionist policies. Germany, Italy, and Japan pursued aggressive expansionist policies. Hitler aimed to create a greater Germany by annexing neighboring countries. Italy, under Mussolini, sought to revive the Roman Empire, and Japan aimed to dominate Asia and the Pacific. Appeasement. European powers, particularly Britain and France, initially pursued a policy of appeasement, allowing Germany to annex territories like Austria and Czechoslovakia in the hope of avoiding another war. This policy ultimately emboldened Hitler. Failure of the League of Nations. The League of Nations, established after World War I to prevent future conflicts, proved ineffective. It failed to stop aggressive actions by Axis powers due to its lack of authority and the absence of major powers like the United States. The outbreak of war. The war officially began on September 1, 1939, when Germany invaded Poland. Britain and France declared war on Germany 2 days later. This marked the beginning of a conflict that would engulf the world. Major theaters and key battles. World War II was fought across multiple continents and involved numerous significant battles and campaigns. European theater. Blitzkrieg and the fall of France. Germany's Blitzkrieg tactics, fast, coordinated attacks using infantry, tanks, and air power, quickly overwhelmed Poland and later France, leading to its fall in June 1940. Battle of Britain. In the summer and autumn of 1940, the Royal Air Force successfully defended Britain against the German Luftwaffe's aerial bombardment, marking the first major defeat for Hitler's military. Eastern Front. Operation Barbarossa. In June 1941, Germany launched a massive invasion of the Soviet Union. Initial successes were followed by a brutal winter and fierce Soviet resistance, culminating in key battles like Stalingrad and Kursk. These battles marked turning points, with the Soviet Union eventually pushing back German forces. Pacific Theater. Pearl Harbor. On December 7, 1941, Japan launched a surprise attack on the U.S. naval base at Pearl Harbor, prompting the United States to enter the war. This expanded the conflict significantly. Midway and island hopping. The Battle of Midway in June 1942 was a decisive naval victory for the United States, halting Japanese expansion. The Allies then adopted an island hopping strategy, capturing key islands on the way to Japan. North Africa and Italy. El Alamein. In October 1942, British forces defeated the German Afrika Korps in North Africa, leading to the Axis retreat. Invasion of Italy. In 1943, Allied forces invaded Sicily and mainland Italy, leading to the fall of Mussolini's regime and further weakening Axis positions in Europe. The Holocaust. The horrors of World War II. The rise of anti-Semitism and Nazi ideology. Anti-Semitism, or hostility towards Jews, has deep historical roots in Europe. However, it reached unprecedented levels under Nazi rule. Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party propagated a virulent form of anti-Semitism, blaming Jews for Germany's economic woes and societal problems. This ideology was codified in Hitler's book, Mein Kampf, and became central to Nazi policy. When the Nazis came to power in 1933, they began implementing their anti-Semitic agenda. Jews were increasingly marginalized through discriminatory laws, propaganda, and social ostracism. The Nuremberg Laws of 1935 stripped Jews of their citizenship and prohibited marriage and sexual relations between Jews and non-Jews, further entrenching their segregation and persecution. The ghettos and initial persecutions. Before the establishment of extermination camps, Jews were forced into ghettos, segregated, overcrowded urban areas where they lived in squalid conditions. The largest ghetto was in Warsaw, Poland, where hundreds of thousands of Jews were confined. Life in the ghettos was marked by starvation, disease, and forced labor. In addition to ghettos, the Nazis began carrying out mass shootings of Jews in occupied territories, particularly in the Soviet Union. Mobile killing units, known as Einsatzgruppen, followed the German army, executing Jews, Roma, communists, and other perceived enemies. These massacres were the precursors to the more systematic approach of the death camps. The final solution and the death camps. The final solution to the Jewish question was the Nazi plan to systematically exterminate the Jewish population of Europe. This policy was formalized at the Wannsee Conference in January 1942, where high-ranking Nazi officials coordinated the logistics of mass murder. The Nazis established extermination camps equipped with gas chambers designed for industrial-scale killing. The most infamous of these camps were Auschwitz-Birkenau, Treblinka, Sobibor, and Belzec. Jews from across Europe were deported to these camps in cattle cars, often under the guise of resettlement. Upon arrival, most were immediately sent to gas chambers, while others were subjected to inhumane medical experiments, forced labor, and starvation. Auschwitz-Birkenau, a symbol of the Holocaust. Auschwitz-Birkenau, located in occupied Poland, was the largest and most notorious of the Nazi death camps. It served both as a concentration camp and an extermination camp, symbolizing the sheer scale of the Holocaust. Over 1.1 million people were murdered at Auschwitz, the vast majority of them Jews. Prisoners were subjected to appalling conditions, brutal treatment, and sadistic medical experiments conducted by SS doctors like Joseph Mengele. The camp's liberation by Soviet forces on January 27, 1945, exposed the world to the full extent of the Nazis' atrocities. Resistance and liberation. Despite the overwhelming power of the Nazi machinery of death, there were acts of resistance. In some ghettos, such as Warsaw, Jews staged uprisings, fighting against their oppressors despite being vastly outgunned. In the camps, there were instances of sabotage and escape attempts, though these were rare and perilous. The liberation of the camps by Allied forces in 1944 and 1945 brought the horrors of the Holocaust to light. Soldiers encountered emaciated survivors, piles of corpses, and the remnants of the extermination facilities. The full scale of the genocide shocked the world and led to widespread calls for justice and remembrance. The end of the war. The final years of the war saw the Allies gaining momentum. D-Day and liberation of Europe. On June 6, 1944, Allied forces launched Operation Overlord, the largest amphibious invasion in history, landing on the beaches of Normandy, France. This began the liberation of Western Europe from Nazi control. Fall of Berlin. In April 1945, Soviet forces captured Berlin. Hitler committed suicide on April 30th, and Germany surrendered on May 8, 1945, known as VE Day, Victory in Europe Day. Atomic bombs and Japan surrender. In the Pacific, the United States dropped atomic bombs on the cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945, leading to Japan's surrender on September 2, 1945, known as VJ Day, Victory over Japan Day. Aftermath and legacy. World War II had profound and far-reaching effects. Human cost. The war caused unprecedented loss of life, with estimates of up to 85 million people dead, including civilians and military personnel. It also resulted in widespread destruction and displacement. Political changes. The war led to the emergence of the United States and the Soviet Union as superpowers, setting the stage for the Cold War. It also resulted in significant political changes in Europe and Asia, including the division of Germany and the decolonization of Asia and Africa. Creation of the United Nations. In 1945, the United Nations was established to promote international cooperation and prevent future conflicts, succeeding where the League of Nations had failed. Economic impact. The war spurred significant technological and industrial advancements. Post-war recovery efforts, particularly through programs like the Marshall Plan, helped rebuild and reshape economies. Social changes. The war had lasting social impacts, including changes in gender roles, with many women having entered the workforce during the war. It also prompted movements for civil rights and decolonization worldwide. Conclusion. World War II was a defining event of the 20th century, reshaping the global order and leaving a legacy that continues to influence our world today. Understanding its causes, major events, and consequences is crucial to comprehending modern history and the ongoing quest for peace and stability. If you found this video informative, please like, subscribe, and click the bell icon for more in-depth historical content. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.